Hi, everybody. This is Aaron Mesh with Willamette Week. We have two endorsement interviews for Portland Public Schools Board District 5, and we're starting with Gary Hollands. Gary, thank you so much for being with us today. Can you introduce yourself to the roughly 13 people who will watch this video and tell them who you are and why you are running for Portland Public School Board?
Yes, definitely. Well, just again, thank you guys for having me. So my name is Gary Hollands. I am running for Portland Public School Board Zone 5. A little bit about me. I'm a native Oregonian, born and raised here. I am a proud alumni of Portland Public Schools. Went to Irvington Elementary, Whitaker Middle School, and then graduated from Benson High School. Went on to attend Fort Valley State University, came back, attended Portland State University, and then from there started my family, my business here in Portland. One of the three reasons why I'm running for the school board.
I apologize. I apologize for interrupting. What's your business?
So I have a couple businesses. One is a Hollands Investment Group. The other one is NESW Transport. And out of that, we have Interstate Trucking Academy, which is our CDL truck driving school. And we started the truck driving school out of the need of minority and women in the trucking industry. And so I decided that, instead of me waiting for someone else to do it, we decided to do it ourselves. So our Trucking Academy focuses on women and minorities getting into the transportation industry. So that's kind of what I do.
Makes sense. Before I let you continue talking about why you're running for office, I have to admit I'm just really interested in the Trucking Academy. Trucking's a hard business for people of color, is my understanding. A lot of bias in that industry.
I don't say it's so much as difficult as the lack of opportunity. I think a lot of minorities, because they do come with a past, a lot of them, they don't necessarily get the opportunities to get into a career that are giving livable wages and be able for them to afford to, buy a house and really look at generational wealth in real dollars. So I think it's just a lack of the opportunity. And that's one of the things that we are trying to help out with, or move the needle a little bit by, working not only with with our private sector, but we work with the public sector as well. So right now, what we've done with Interstate Trucking Academy is we collaborated with Metro, not Metro. Well, we have done work with Metro as well, but we collaborate with WorkSource systems, and it's called Aura, which is a group of waste haulers that includes like Waste Management, Arrow, City of Roses. We collaborated with them to come up with a program that is industry specific training with the on focusing on women and minorities. And so when they came to me about doing this, it was a great idea. One of the things I wanted to make sure that we did focus on with them was that we are going to focus on women and minorities, and we are going to look for job placement. It's one thing to get them trained to get their CDL license. It's another thing to get them employed. There's a lot of folks that get their CDLs through different WorkSource and workforce programs, but there's not a real pipeline to them to get them employed. So one of the things that we did with them is to officially, say, hey, these guys are going to be hiring. So we start with a cohort of 15 students, and it's a 3-month program. So not only are they learning to get their CDL license, they're also learning the specific industry-specific requirements for the garbage industry, which is something a little different. By doing that, not only now do they come in just getting their CDL, they also have knowledge of the garbage industry. They've learned how to drive on the right-hand side of of the road. They're learning how to use the automated systems on their arms. We actually have garbage trucks that they are trained on afterwards. So they're getting a more comprehensive training with that. And so we was able to work out with them to provide tuition-free training as well. So it's tuition-free. They don't have to worry about, the financial barriers that usually come into getting your CDL license. Usually someone coming in with their CDL license, they usually once you have to pay for the course. Not only are you paying for the course, well, then you also are spending a month without getting any income because you're in class. And then once you do get out of class and secure a job, well, then you got to wait to that next payroll cycle. So you usually almost have between 60 to 90 days of no income. So we wanted to at least eliminate some of that burden. And we were able to do that with WorkSource and some of our Waste Connection partners to do that. So now they don't not only do they have to do that, but they also get support from work systems as far as rent assistance or food and things like that. Sorry, I can go on and on about that.
No,
I'm really excited about that.
I just figured that given that we have a short period of time, I'd better let you talk about why it is you're running for school board.
Gotcha. So 3 reasons why I'm running for the school board. One, I'm real big on CTE and vocational courses, as you can see with our Trucking Academy. I want to make sure we expand on it. The district has been making some great strides in that right now. We're having CTE courses currently, but I want to make sure that we are striving to expand that, not just for the high schools, but expand them down to the middle schools as well. And also make sure that our kids, the communication for our kids to know about these programs as well. We want to make sure that they're equitable. We want to make sure the west side schools and the east side schools is an equitable CTE programs. Right now, if you look at the CTE course offerings, schools on the west side have like business and entrepreneurship. A lot of schools on the east side don't have that. So the goal is to make sure that we're being equitable with our CTE and vocational course offerings. So that's my number one priority of why I decided to run. The second one, of course, is representation. I believe that in any organization, you should have a diverse group. One, because you get a different perspective of governance. You are able to look at different lenses when you're talking about the overall kids that we serve. I want to make sure that our racial and cultural diversity of staff reflect the kids that we serve. I always use a little scenario of a kid looking at a class picture. A kid will look at a class picture and the first thing he's interested in is himself. So he's going to look in the picture for himself. If he doesn't see himself in that picture, he's probably no longer interested in the picture. And right now, I feel there are a lot of kids of color who's not interested in the educational picture right now because they cannot see themselves in that picture. And so I think by increasing the cultural diversity of our staff, of the administration, of our teachers, then they'll be able to start recognizing themselves in that picture. And then the third reason, and this came up as I was running for the board and talking with past school board members and teachers and administrators, is that we have a real serious problem with our 3rd grade reading and 5th grade math for kids of color. And so my goal is to really look at a deeper dive in that. How do we close and address that academic gap? And so those are the reasons why I'm running for the school board.
So in some ways you've already answered this question, but I'm curious if you could tell us what you see as the greatest challenge facing PPS right now, not counting the pandemic.
Gotcha. I think the academic gap for reading and math for our kids of color. I think that is one of the biggest issues that we need to address, as we know that reading is the fundamental of our education system. And when kids, especially by the 3rd grade, are not reading at level. When they get into the other grades, what are they going to be doing? Because they don't want to be embarrassed about not reading. They might be acting out. They might be doing other things to distract from them not being able to read. So I think reading and then the math piece, I think those are the two things that we really need to address at the school districts right away.
What grade would you give Superintendent Guerrero so far?
That's interesting. I don't know yet as far as myself. He's only been there a couple of years, but talking with a lot of the board members, talking with some of the staff, they're going in the right direction. And so I think the grading period hasn't really ended yet because COVID came in and disrupted a lot of the momentum that they had. So I think that's still out for debate on what his grade will be.
Great. Do others on the board have questions? Mark, you are muted.
I apologize for my tardiness.
Okay, do you have a question?
Well, my guess is it's already been asked and answered, so
No.
I worry about being redundant.
All right. Well, let me ask a couple more. Gary, who's your biggest endorser in this race? Who's endorsed you?
Oh gosh, well, the difference between who's endorsed me. I've had ex-Governor Barbara Roberts has endorsed me every BLAST board member has endorsed me. Community members has endorsed me. City commissioners, county commissioners have endorsed me. So I don't know necessarily as the one biggest endorsement. I think just by the endorsements I have from collectively across the community, I think that's when I look at who has endorsed me, because it's a wide range of group. I think they're all as important because, I always say this, I've been saying this to everybody, an endorsement for me, it's not for me, it's really an endorsement of our kids because I am children centered. So I don't think it's one bigger endorsement than the other. I think collectively they're all huge.
Are you fundraising at all? I never know how much money gets spent in a school board race. It's an off-cycle election. Do you fundraise for this?
You do. From my estimates, that there have been fundraising from $5,000 to some races that have went over half $150,000.
How much have you?
One thing that I have raised a total of, I think 28,000 or something like that.
Got it. Who's your biggest?
But what?
Oh, I said who's your largest? Again? Who's your largest donor?
So Union Wise is PAT. That's our biggest donor. But one of the things I want to speak on that a little bit. One of the things that me and Mr. Rogers, who's my appointed, what we did is we actually looked at that. I gave him a call and I was like, hey, Dan, if we're really focusing on our kids, we're raising all this, we're supposed to be raising all this money to get on the board to help our kids. I said, my thought process was this, and gratefully he agreed. I said, we're going to put a cap on our own spending. We're not going to spend no more than $10,000 on our campaign. I said, because it just, for me, it is interesting that we're raising all these funds to get on the school board. And I wanted to make sure that any funds that we use can go directly to our kids. And so what we came up with is we're spending no more than $10,000 on advertising for our campaigns. And that way, anything that we have left over, we can use to directly affect or donate to directly affect or to donate to organizations that directly affect our kids. And so we kind of did that. It's just because my thought process was that, we're raising all this money and I want to make sure we focus on our kids. So that way we're not trying to outpace each other with raising funds and all other stuff that we really can, we can set a limit to what we're going to fundraise. So that way everything we're doing after that can be focused on our kids and getting a message about our youth and getting our values about how we can help our kids moving forward.
Mark, go
I
ahead.
actually do, Gary, unless Aaron and Sophie and Rachel have asked you a lot about your background, I'm interested in your occupational past.
Oh, we've gone over that quite extensively, but there's actually a part that I haven't asked about yet, and I'm eager to ask about it because it interests me. So you've told us all about the training program that you run, about how it trains people to be long haul truckers, to also be garbage truck drivers. It's really interesting. How much time have you spent trucking?
Oh gosh. Well, if you take, before I had my CDL, I've been doing trucking since I was in the trucking since about 6 years old. My dad used to haul scrap metal. He was a scrap metal recycler. And so I used to have to move the truck back and forth on the yard, since I was about 11 or 12 years old. So I've been around trucking, pretty much all my life. My relatives have done trucking, whether it's dump trucking or over the road trucking. So I've been around trucking all my life.
Well, then it would be a shame for us not to ask you what you drive.
So what kind of truck do I drive, or what kind of car do I drive?
What kind of truck do you drive?
My truck is my dump truck that I love to drive all the time is a Mack dump truck. It's a 4-axle.
You must be everybody.
Say that again?
Everybody wants to know someone with a dump truck.
Yes. I do not have a lack of people calling me for needs of a dump truck.
Gary, did
yes.
Aaron and Sophie ask you about your other occupation? You've got an investment company?
Yes. They did not. So the investment group is just really a holding company for the trucking companies. And also we got into real estate with that as well. And we got into, getting into the little stock market, dabbling in the stock market as well. So that's what it comes in the investment group.
So are you investing money on behalf of other individuals or institutions?
No, it's just us, just my family.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Unless Sophie or Rachel have questions, and I should actually make sure, any questions? No. So in that case, we'll end with our traditional question, which is the fun question, or at least it's fun for us.
Okay. Can I just say one thing?
Sure. Yeah. Before we do the fun question, we should let you make a closing argument.
Oh no, there's not a closing argument. This is kind of an announcement. If I don't know if this is the right time or not, but I'm hosting a Candidates of Color event on April 30th, which is this Friday, from 6 to 7:30. So I just wanted to, for folks to, like to come. You guys are more than welcome to come. But we're just doing a celebration for candidates of color across Oregon. I'm just celebrating what they're doing and things like that. So I wanted to let everyone know what we're doing, and it's on Zoom, and we'll make sure everybody gets invitations to it as well. But I just want to make sure I got that out for folks.
Oh, good. If you would invite us, we'd like to attend that and cover it. Thank you.
Oh, awesome.
So the fun question, which is sort of themed to the year we've all spent stuck inside, is can you remember as a student what your favorite field trip was?
Favorite field trip as a student? Oh God, I would have to say that would be, I'm trying to think of, it's the slough down off of 42nd.
To Columbia.
We went over there on a field trip. Yeah, the Columbia slough. We went over there for a field trip, and I think that was the first time I think I seen like little frogs going around, which was real interesting because I hadn't really seen them live outside of the zoo or in movies and stuff. So I think that would be my favorite. That had to been, it's been a long time ago.
Gotcha. That's a good answer. All right. Gary, thank you so much for taking time with us. This is really helpful.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
I'll turn the record off. Thank you.